We are joined now by Mike Grimm, the play-by-play voice for Minnesota football. Mike, how are you this morning?
Hey, doing great. Yeah, we're just about ready for football, aren't we? We're getting there.
Yeah, Mike, good to hear from you. Looking forward to seeing you in the booth when we come down. Hopefully, you guys will be gracious hosts. But I want to get right to it. I'm gonna need you for levity to balance me out because I've been in trouble. I'm getting in trouble. I've gotten my wrist slapped. The fan base is not happy with me since February. My partner's laughing already. I am one of these guys, and it's not because of the 5 in a row. It's not because anything other than I actually think Minnesota's going to be pretty good, right? I know how they recruit. They've recruited a guy in my house really hard. I know the philosophy. I like the roster. How many is the sentiment inside the program that this team is much better than the national media thinks they are?
I think so. I think they always play with a chip on their shoulder. I think their head coach has talked about that a lot. It kind of sets the tone with that because he's always had people doubt him all the way from when he was, a 5'10" wide receiver at Northern Illinois. So I think they always play with the chip, always think they're better than what others think they are. And look, they've got a chance to have a pretty good season. I don't think there's any doubt about that. They've got some question marks here and there, but so does everybody, right? Everyone's got a few places where you wonder, did the transfer portal help that area? They're going to go with the kid out of high school in that area. Will that work? But yeah, I think they got a chance to be pretty good. I'd be shocked if they weren't at least in the top half. And right now, they're the national media picked them at 11. I think it was right when the Cleveland newspaper does their national thing. So I think they're better than 11. I don't think I doubt we see them in the championship game of the Big Ten postseason either. But I think they're a bowl team. I think they're a solid team. I think anyone who comes into Minnesota and wins will have earned it, and that's how I classify it.
Mike, it's a blade cuts two ways, right? So for all the chips and anger and, hey, bulletin board material of not being ranked in the top 25, the schedule, if you just look at it, the numbers, the other way is the schedule seems favorable in terms of playing ranked teams. Can you have your cake and eat it too when you look at the preseason top 25?
Yeah, it's a good question. I've seen that a few different places. I don't think it's that favorable, quite frankly. I mean, depending on what your goal is, if your goal is to get to a bowl game and win 6, beautiful. You're going to do that probably with this schedule. But you're probably at 2 losses right off the top. At Oregon, at Ohio State, those are 2 playoff teams from last year who are going to be in the playoffs this year. You're not going to win those 2 probably. Then you play at Iowa. You're 1-11.
Those are the ranked ones that you mentioned early, right?
Yeah, and then now you've got Nebraska at home, Wisconsin at home. Those aren't any picnics. You play a Northwestern team at a baseball stadium in November, Wrigley Field. You never know about that. Who knows? I mean, it could be 9 below zero and windy.
Why are these guys so close to me on this sideline?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't actually think it's I think it's a fine schedule. Could it be worse? Of course. They don't have Penn State, they don't have USC, they don't have Michigan. But that's the life of the Big Ten. Outside of Wisconsin, who has just this killer brutal schedule. I mean, if Wisconsin doesn't bring it every week, they could finish with 4 wins, maybe, right? I mean, that thing is, because their non-conference includes a trip to Alabama, which it won't be real friendly probably. Nebraska probably has a little easier schedule, I think, right? I mean, they could easily roll into Minnesota unbeaten or with 1 loss in middle October. So they've got an opportunity, I think, to rack up some wins as well. So, but you're right. The question then becomes, okay, so what's the goal? Where do you got to be? I think Vegas has the Minnesota over/under at 6.5. I would think the over is the play there. I'm not a gambling man, but I think that it's better than that. You also have an interesting dynamic, I think, even within the market here, in that I think the outside world really likes what PJ Fleck has done. I mean, look, people have their issues with him. They think he's quirky and all that stuff. Look, being around him, he's one of the favorite people I've ever dealt with. So just from my standpoint, I love the guy. That said, within the market, he has kind of made it boring here. They won 9, they won 8, they won 8. They took a dip 2 years ago. They're back to 8. If you'd have said, 15 years ago, hey, Minnesota's going to go win 9, they're going to win 8, they're going to win 8, they're going to win 8, you'd be like, man, we'll take that. Well, now it's like, when's he going to break through? When's he going to break through? And there is this little bit of weird enough. He's been here. This is his 9th year. And I'm not saying he's got to win 10 or he's in trouble. I don't believe that. I mean, he is the right guy for this spot. There's no question about it.
Got the extension too, right?
And he got an extension. And look, there's reasons for all of that. I mean, he is outside the program. He is looked at as like they look at it. People that know college football look at it and say, God, look what that guy's done in Minnesota. He knows what he's doing, and he does, as you had mentioned earlier. But at the end of the day, they had the breakout in 2019 with 11 wins. Had there been a 16-team playoff, like there's probably going to be here in a couple of years, they're probably in at that with that mark at 11-1, or at the 10-2, and then they won the bowl game against Auburn to get to the 11 wins. But a 10-win Big Ten team's probably going to make the playoff almost all the time when it gets to 16. So the question is, can you have another one of those years? I don't know if it'll be this year, but I think at a place like Minnesota and others, I think everyone's kind of got to readjust with this new landscape, right? What the Rose Bowl as we know it. I grew up loving the Rose Bowl. That was such a glamorous thing. You look at that doesn't exist as we knew it. So now the playoffs become the goal, I think. And so can you make a run every now and then? And I think that's the next step here for PJ Fleck and the Gophers, is to make a run. I don't know if it'll be this year. They got a redshirt freshman quarterback. I think it's hard with a redshirt freshman quarterback to go win 10 and make a run at the playoffs. But that doesn't mean it's not around the corner at some point here.
Mike, so talk to me about that redshirt freshman quarterback. Obviously, Drake Lindsay, you lose a lot of experience at that spot going from last year to this year. He, if I'm correct, only threw 5 passes last year during his redshirt season. What does it look like for Minnesota? From the outside looking in, seems like an offense that PJ Fleck has been able to navigate, maybe not always having incredible quarterback play. What do you think they do with Drake Lindsay this year?
Yeah, I think that is going to be one of the fun things to follow. Look, you're right. He threw 5 passes last year. However, 1 was for a touchdown. So if he throws a touchdown every 5 attempts, think how good they'll be. I mean, how about that? No, I think anyone will take that. Yeah, that'd be pretty great. So the question becomes, how much will the coaching staff put trust in the quarterback? They love him. I mean, they absolutely love him. Look, they did not. Remember last year they went and got Max Brosmer from New Hampshire. They went out, they recruited him. PJ said it's the only time in his career where he went and told a kid, "You're my starter. You don't have to win the job. We need a quarterback. We got a true freshman and not much else. You're going to come in. You don't have to compete for it. It's your job." And Max Brosmer proved him right. He was really good. Now he has a real good chance of making the Minnesota Vikings. He just threw a touchdown in a preseason game on Saturday. So they could have done that again, right? They could have gone out. They don't have oceans of NIL money, but they have enough. They could have gone and gotten a quarterback. They chose not to. They got a kid from Georgia Tech who ended up here for a semester. They got a kid from Old Dominion, but those are really just depth guys in case you run through a bunch of quarterbacks. They knew that Drake Lindsay was the guy, so that tells me that they like him. I've watched him at practice. He's got all the skill you need. I do believe it's a big question mark, but I don't think it's because of skill. His arm's great. He shapes the ball beautifully. He's tall. He's 6'4", 6'5", moves pretty well. I mean, he's not Lamar Jackson, but I think he can step up in the pocket. I think he can avoid a sack and extend a play. So now the question becomes, okay, I think they like how he studies film. He was at attached at the hip of Max Brosmer last year, so he understands the process. So it all really comes down. The question to me isn't skill. It isn't anything else. The question is, how does he handle some really good Big Ten defenses? I mean, here's a kid that 2 years ago is taking his team to the Arkansas State Championship in football in high school, and now he's got to go play at Ohio State. He's got to go play at Oregon at Kinnick Stadium. He's got to figure out a way to beat Nebraska here. He's got to beat Wisconsin here if everything wants to go the way you want it to go. So that's a lot on a kid who has, as you said, thrown 5 passes in his career. But they love him. The question is, will he handle it? Get the ball on target on time, read the defense right, get him in the right formations, understand everything that needs to be understood. If he's good, this team has a chance to be really good.
That's the Golden Gopher voice, Mike Grimm. Mike, I know you got to run. Let me ask you a quickie here. If given your druthers, if Minnesota's going to be who they need to be, Is it the development of guys like Malachi Coleman and some of these unproven wide receivers, but behind what I think is quietly a pretty good, not oft thought about top two, or finding depth behind the Easterns, the Logans, the Reddings along the D line? If Minnesota's going to go where they need to be, is it the development of the wide receiver core or depth behind the proven top three-ish of that defensive line?
Can I choose option C?
Give me one.
I think the two biggest keys for the team will be the development of Lindsay. If, like I said, if he's good, they'll be good at quarterback. If he's just okay, they'll be just okay. And if he plays like a lot of redshirt freshmen play and not very good and throw some bad interceptions, then they're going to have, they could have some weeks where they struggle. Outside defense, the cornerbacks, they had Justin Wally and Ethan Robinson. They were pretty good last year. Like, Wally was a third-round draft pick. He had won the job at Indianapolis, or was at least competing for the starting job with the Colts, and then blew out his knee in the first preseason game. Just a terrible injury. He had been fairly durable here, and then Ethan Robinson's getting a chance. I forget where he's at, the Chargers or someplace, as an undrafted guy. They have, they have nobody. Zaquan Bryant has 2 career starts. That, for the most part, is it. And I think we forget how important cornerback play is to, as you mentioned, those guys up front.
I think the assumption is Collins has been so good as the longest tenured guy that you guys just crank out good secondaries, and we know Parrish is the cleanup guy behind him. So I agree with you there.
Yeah, I think the good news is they've got unbelievable talent at safety, and they're going to do some tinkering. They're going to have some formations that we'll not know about, and they'll probably use some of those safeties as slot corners at times because they do have some skill. I mean, Parrish could really play anywhere. And by the way, we haven't even talked about the fact Parrish is probably going to play 15 or 20 plays on offense.
I saw him with the split jersey. I was thinking to myself, oh, that's interesting.
But to go back to quickly the other part, I'm comfortable with their receivers. They have a transfer from Miami of Ohio who was first-team All-MAC.
Yep.
I think Nebraska's got a guy from the MAC too, right? I think that I think that's fine. Those guys are going to be okay. They got Logan Loya, who was a handful for the Gophers last year when the Gophers played out at UCLA. I couldn't believe that all of a sudden that guy became available. Great, kind of a possession guy, finds the openings in the zone. So those two guys, along with Lemeki Brockington, they have a ton of starts. And then, as you mentioned, they've got Malachi Coleman, who came in from Nebraska. They've got an emerging guy who has torn up camp, a kid named Jalen Smith. He's from Mankato, Minnesota.
That's the guy I'm watching right there.
Yeah,
right there.
I mean, he's been unbelievable. He had a 65-yard and a 70-yard touchdown last Tuesday. I'm actually practice here. As soon as I hang up with you guys, I got to go visit a doctor quick, as a guy my age now has to do on occasion, and then I'm heading to watch practice. And so we'll see what else happens. But I'm pretty comfortable with the receiver group right now. And up front defensively, they brought in a kid from Stony Brook. I think they're okay there too. And Danny Collins, you're right. I mean, it's his first year of calling the defense, and we'll see where it takes him. But I feel pretty good. If this team, like I said, on offense, clearly Lindsay's the key. I think so it's quarterback and cornerback. If I could put two keys to, if they want to get to where they want to get, if those two areas are really good, then I think the Golden Gophers are going to be really good.
Appreciate your time. Thanks for sneaking us in, Mike.
Yeah, always enjoy it. Thank you.